Vegas? Is Las Vegas safe? Am I going to die moving to Las Vegas? Well, first off, death is a fact of life, my friends. Okay, but in all seriousness, I'm realizing from you guys, really, that these are all some really heavy concerns and some really frequently asked questions, particularly for those who are looking to be living in Las Vegas or moving to Las Vegas. So honestly, I wasn't gonna make this video till a little bit later down the road, but I think we need to get down on it. Get down on it. Down on it. By the way, if you found yourself here and you are new, my name is Sunshine and I make videos on tips and tricks and advice on living in Las Vegas as your friendly neighborhood local. So for example, this video is inspired by a lot of questions and feedback that I've been getting from other videos along with private messages. So if you're watching and you have any pressing questions or requests for a piece of advice on a certain thing or topic, then let me know. As always, I'm gonna do my best to answer honestly. And if I don't know the answer, then I know someone who does. The thing about living here is you live here long enough and then you know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy, and then you basically know everyone. All right, but the short answer to is Las Vegas safe is yes. If I had to pick between yes and no, I vote yes. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be here. Ellie would not be here. All right, I know I kind of goofed up in my very first video on Las Vegas that I put up, this one right here. I did address and acknowledge it in the comments, but it's regarding the population of Las Vegas. I promise this is a point, but Las Vegas is located in Clark County, and Clark County actually has a population, according to Las Vegas Metro PD, of about 2 million people. In my other video, I literally just did an impromptu Google search while I was talking. You know, I pulled my laptop up and everything and just did what's Las Vegas's population or something like that, and then I just read off literally the first number, which we know is not the best research practice. So I do apologize about that oversight. So that number was closer to the population of Las Vegas, the city itself, and not the entire municipality or Clark County for the matter. The number is closer to 2 million, but with that, though I would say that Las Vegas is a pretty safe place to live, with a population of about 2 million people between Vegas, Henderson, North Las Vegas, you are not ever going to have a city with that population that is spot-free, crime-free, and perfect. So yes, for those asking, it basically makes it pretty much just like any other city or place to live. Definitely not on the level of, say, places like Chicago or Baltimore or Detroit, just to name a few. But I would say that it definitely does not even come close to other cities that are known to be more dangerous. But danger is everywhere. So with that, I'm actually going to be giving some of my personal recommendations and advice on staying safe in Las Vegas in particular, because again, it's not perfect, and there are precautions that are more specific to the Las Vegas area that I feel you should be taking into consideration. So if you want to find out more about that, then keep on watching. So number one, pick a good neighborhood. Pick a good neighborhood, please. For the love of all that is good and pure, do your research, do your due diligence, and pick a good neighborhood. I'm not gonna single anyone out, but I know there is someone out there specifically watching that just picked a place that was convenient between work and their gym and thought it had a decent commute. So boom, that was their level of criteria for picking the apartment that they live in now. Hopefully they have learned their lesson a year later. If you want to learn a little bit more about good neighborhoods and places to live in Las Vegas, or where to live in Las Vegas, then I highly recommend that you check out the video that I put up just before this one. I will leave that in the cards. But it's pretty much just a breakdown of the Las Vegas area and the different neighborhoods, places that I would recommend, places that I would avoid. Another thing about picking a good neighborhood, though, is that it doesn't have to be expensive for it to be safe. I just want to throw that out there because I personally have lived in quite a few places. I feel like I've lived almost all over town. I've never held a lease for more than a year, meaning I have lived on different properties and had different roommate situations and whatnot, but I do know that I have lived in some pretty great places that weren't necessarily considered very affluently planned communities, but hey, I'm still here. I do notice that I get quite a few Las Vegas locals watching this video, so Las Vegas locals, I'm calling you out. If you are watching, give our fellow prospective newbies some advice on neighborhoods that you've lived in or that you would recommend as well. if you have those recommendations. Teamwork. Another thing you'll notice about a lot of Las Vegas communities, usually apartment complexes, condos, and yeah, actually just a lot of housing neighborhoods, is there are no shortage of gated communities around here. But I would just like to say, just my 2 cents here, just because it's gated doesn't mean it's safe. I actually heard the saying from probably one of my coaches over at Krav Maga, which I'll get into in a little bit later. Somewhere along the lines of, do gated communities really keep the bad guys out, or do they just keep them in? I live in a gated community right now, but it's never a factor of when I'm trying to decide where to live. It just so happens that there is a gate, and if anything, it is just more annoying to have to punch in the keypad all the time. Again, that's just my 2 cents. I absolutely wouldn't mind living in a non-gated community because I have plenty of times. My next tip would be to take more extreme precaution when driving at night. In particular, somebody in one of my other videos had brought up the fatality rate on the freeways or on the roads here in Las Vegas. I'm gonna be real, I haven't fact checked this, but they were just saying that we have one of the highest fatality rates from driving in our city. And honestly, again, I'm always gonna do my best to be real around here, but I would not disagree with that. Accidents here are actually very common, devastating, heartbreaking, and super inconvenient for just everyone involved. Just nothing ever good comes out of it. So that is something that I do hope improves someday. One of my biggest pieces of advice in being out on the road here in Las Vegas specifically is to be a defensive driver. There are other places, you know, for example, like LA, where you have to be more of an aggressive driver in order to really just be able to maneuver through their freeways because of how congested it is. But here, it's much more important to be a defensive driver. There's no need for aggression. People generally let you in to their lane. I mean, are we completely void of assholes on the road? No, but just with all the accidents that happen around here, please, can't say it enough, be a defensive driver. But with that also, just with the nature of our city and, you know, the strip, the copious amounts of alcohol available at every single turn, it comes as no surprise that there is a little bit of a drunk driving problem. I will say that might have gone down in the last few years just because of Uber and Lyft services available and lots of PSAs and people just being advocates of not drunk driving and just taking an Uber or a Lyft. You know, it's never worth it. But still, because of the higher chance of drunk driving around here in Las Vegas, I personally stay off the roads really late at night in order to avoid that. I just feel like if there are going to be an influx of drunk drivers at any point in the day, it would be in those like wee hours of the morning or late at night after everyone's had their night out. But yeah, it sucks that no matter how safe you are, all it takes is someone else to just mess everything up for you. So that's my personal way of just kind of avoiding that. And that is not to say that you shouldn't go out ever, you should stay in. No, just be mindful of staying out way too late all the time. This is a fun city and you should absolutely enjoy it. This next tip goes for females especially, but I would really just avoid going out when it gets dark alone. Not going out when it gets dark, but going out alone when it gets dark. I was just in New York City recently and it was only my second time, but I was with some friends over there and I was surprised to find that even really late at night, the general area that at least we were around and kind of perusing felt really safe, even if it was like 1 in the morning. I hear from a lot of New Yorkers that New York is actually pretty safe, when in my mind, the stereotype was that it was super dangerous and, you know, all that jazz. And I mean, that's not to be naive and say that it's completely safe, but I would not say the same thing about Vegas at night versus the people I was talking to who live there who are saying they're completely comfortable being out at night just because there's so many people around all the time, everywhere you go. So I feel like the biggest example that I have for not going out alone at night is getting gas. I personally never get gas at night. I reserve all my gas needs for the daytime. Sorry, I'm still trying to work on not being actually 12 years old. But yeah, if I need to get gas at night, then I make sure that I have someone go with me, or I just wait until morning. I just never feel good about being alone at night. Even when it comes to like going shopping alone at night, definitely depends on the area, but even recently in the area that I live in Henderson, I kind of saw this viral post going around about a I believe it was like a Walmart or a Ross or a department store of some sort. But the store that was being talked about was just around the corner from me, or is just around the corner from me, and some place that I've gone to plenty of times. I wouldn't have thought that it was unsafe, but the post that I was reading, this young woman was talking about how she noticed that she was kind of just being followed from a distance. When she went out and was about to go to her car, the person in question was kind of just still like following, lagging behind and watching intently. And so good for her for staying aware of her surroundings, even in a place like this that people would generally perceive as safe. Use your common sense. Don't be stuck or glued to your phone all the time when you're walking. Be aware of your surroundings, and when you're out at night, make sure that you're with a group. And on top of that, be in places where there are a lot of people that are well lit. So that's why I think it's pretty fine, and you shouldn't worry too much about having a night out downtown or on the strip. But if you're just staying safe and aware, you'll be good. You'll be okay. It's not very common to hear like crazy crimes happening in places like that, honestly. Next tip for staying safe in Las Vegas is I would highly recommend having a home alarm system. I honestly don't know how common home alarm systems are in other areas these days, but around here I feel like it's not really out of the ordinary to have a home alarm system, especially since they come with so many services and other like bundles and packs and things like that these days. Break-ins are a thing. How common break-ins are really just depends on your area, but no place is exempt from that. Again, back to the whole neighborhoods thing, some places are better than others, but that's up to you to really just do your research about the crime reports and the types of crimes in the areas that you're looking at. In the last decade that I've lived here, I have experienced one break-in, and this was back when I was living at home with my family. Thankfully, nobody was home, but that actually is, I believe, a statistic about break-ins is most break-ins actually happen when nobody's home and during the day. People that break into houses are usually more calculated and more prepared, no better than to just bust in at a random time when they don't know if there's a dog or if the people are at work or at home. But I'm pretty sure that's what happened to my family when it happened to us, is that whoever broke into our house knew our schedule and knew that, you know, we went to work and school during the day, and that's when they took their chance. Thankfully, we did have a home alarm system that alerted us right away, or alerted my parents right away. They ended up taking like one of my art sets, which was in a really nice wooden case, which they probably thought had weapons in it. Actually, they didn't even take it. They just opened it and dumped it out. I believe the biggest things of values that were stolen was just my mom's jewelry, including her college ring, which she was really upset about, but then she found at a pawn store later. But yeah, the type of break-ins here that I hear about are usually just to try to find valuables. But the break-in that happened to my family, the people involved actually ended up going and hitting up my surrounding neighbors, like literally the houses 2 doors down from us and then the house across the street, because again, they were probably studying and knew that everyone was gone during the day. And I think our house is probably the first house they tried out, because in the next house they actually ripped out the alarm system first thing, so that way they had more time to rummage through things. So while an alarm system can't prevent break-ins, it can at least like notify you if it would happen. Not to say to prepare for a break-in, but just always expect the unexpected. That break-in happened probably like 9 or 10 years ago, and since living on my own, I haven't experienced one, knock on wood. Ellie! Oh, but good point, Ellie. Robbers are actually less likely to break into a place if they know that there's a dog. So if you have a pupper, good for you. Thanks, Ellie. Oh, and then kind of just like a weird little tidbit that I'm not sure if it's just specific to Vegas, but it is definitely a common thing here in Vegas. It's related to cars, but if you have a Honda Civic, for some reason there's this whole phenomenon that was happening a while back. I don't know if it's still happening now, but I know that I just knew quite a few people that had Honda Civics that always got broken into. And the reason for that, I believe, is because their parts were so easy to steal and then just sell. So just be aware of that if you have a Honda Civic, something to keep in mind. Again, I don't know if it's a thing anymore, but it definitely was at one point. And then one of my last tips for those who are really concerned about staying safe in Las Vegas is to just have a self-defense plan. The most accessible and realistic thing to have is pepper spray. It's like $10 anywhere you go, really easy to just have in your purse or clip to your keys or belt loop, but it's never bad to have pepper spray on you. Make sure you know how to use it before you do. But then I also think you shouldn't rely solely on that. There are some common everyday things that you can use as well. I don't have it with me at the moment, but if you have like a hydro flask or a water bottle, a reusable water bottle, that's something I used to carry with me in my hand all the time when I was walking through sketchy parking lots. I used to work at a place that was not in the best part of town, and so walking in the parking lot was kind of scary, and with that I would always make sure that I wasn't on my phone. My phone was put away because I didn't want to look vulnerable and just look straight ahead, and I had my water bottle just swinging in it as I was walking, and I was just ready to oh, it's getting dark, let me hurry up. All right, sorry, we're losing light over there, so we're gonna do a quick location change. We're just gonna sit and chat right here for the rest of the video. Oh, but another really common self-defense tactic, if you have not heard of it already, is to just have your keys. I've heard to keep your keys in your knuckles when you walk, like kind of like this, so you can kind of just but I'm no expert and I haven't like tested this out yet, but I kind of just feel like it might be better to hold it like this because you just have more grip and it's just easier to stab with versus when it's in your knuckles. I feel like that could hurt when it makes contact. Like this part could just hurt that soft part of your palm. So personally, I would do this. Don't worry, I'll go ask my self-defense instructor for official confirmation. But speaking of self-defense, that's another thing that I definitely want to talk about. I did mention it in one of my other videos, and I will be making a more in-depth video about this, but Krav Maga is something that I always really highly recommend to literally everybody, but for my fellow females especially. Krav Maga is a combat or fighting system that was developed by the Israeli army originally. It's centered around practical self-defense using a hybrid of different martial arts techniques, techniques derived from things like Muay Thai, boxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Judo, Aikido, all of the above. More that I can't mention probably just because I don't know. It's just everything. Again, stay tuned for a more in-depth video on that because it has absolutely changed my life, made me feel better about being out alone in general, traveling alone, and just doing things on my own. But one last thing I'll say about it is that it's really unique in that you do train in weapons defense or, just defending yourself from weapons. For example, if you're held at gunpoint, or what to do if someone attacks you with a knife, things like that. Those are things that you're constantly training in. I highly recommend. I would say just not even just Las Vegas, but just in general. And in Las Vegas specifically, I know there are at least 4 or 5 Krav Maga gyms around town. And what's nice is that they're all kind of spread out into every area. So every area has kind of its own gym that's closest to it. So there's really no excuse. I mean, I'm gonna be real. Money can be a pretty valid excuse because these classes are pretty pricey, but in my opinion, you never lose money when you invest in yourself and if you show up for yourself. So that's on you. I have this problem of when I start talking about this, it's kind of hard for me to stop. So I'm gonna cut myself off right there and just save all the rest of that talk for a separate video. But yeah, that's about all that I have for this video. I know some of the tips and commentary I gave might even just be counteractive for some who are looking to feel better about the safety of Las Vegas, but I just want to say that if that's the last thing holding you back from coming here because it's something that you're really nervous about, then if you won't take my word for it, I would ask around, because I am fairly confident that if you ask most people that have lived here for a minute, doesn't even have to be like 10 years like me, but even people that have just lived here for a year or two, I would say that most people would agree that it's pretty safe and they don't feel very threatened of dangers out here any more than any other city, really. And then a really good point that one of my coworkers brought up when I was asking around on just some thoughts on it from other people that have lived here is that Las Vegas's primary industry is tourism. So if you think about it, Las Vegas as a city really kind of just has an added interest or an extra interest in keeping the place safe. So if you think about it that way, it makes a lot of sense. Not only that, but in my opinion, I know this can be a really controversial topic, but I do just want to say that I think that Las Vegas has some of the finest metro PDs around here. Even in typically unsafe neighborhoods, I find that when I'm driving through a neighborhood that I don't really want to be in, I notice that there is an influx of police presence. Shout out to Metro for doing a great job of holding it down for us. I actually did just a little bit of digging regarding our police departments, but apparently the ratio of officer to residents in the average city is 2 officers to about 1,200 residents. And according to one of the latest reports that came out from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, the city of Las Vegas actually has somewhere around over 3,000 police officers in general, making the ratio about 2 officers per 1,000 residents. Not too shabby. Alrighty, well, we have reached the end of not the road, but just this road in this particular video. I really hope that this was helpful in addressing some of the growing concerns about there for those who are looking to be living in Las Vegas or moving to Las Vegas. Thank you guys for always leaving such insightful comments and genuine questions, because at the end of the day, from someone who has always been the new kid, I just want to help you out, you know? So again, if you have any questions or topic requests, then please leave those thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. What is this? Are you comfy, Ellie? I like what you did there. Did you do that all by yourself?